There are many engines on Sodor who pull passengers, like Spencer pulling the Duke and Duchess, and Gordon, who pulls the Express. And while these two mainly stick with their passengers, other engines have to pull goods trains. James is one of them. He's a mixed traffic engine, so he gets to pull both coaches and trucks. But when Gordon's ill, Henry or Emily usually gets to take the Express. This makes James sad, and he always imagines what it would be like for him to pull the Express and fly down the line. At last, James finally lost patience and started complaining to the others in the sheds. "It's not fair," he groaned. "What's not fair?" asked Edward kindly. "Gordon always getting to take the Express," he explained. "Whenever he's sick, Emily or Henry get to pull it. It's just not fair on me." "That's because, James, you're a little engine, like Thomas, Percy, or even Edward. I'll have you know that you're both bossy and stuck up. Now come on, Thomas, we've got work to do." But before they could say anything else, Percy and Thomas left, leaving James and Gordon speechless. "How dare they? How dare they? How could they speak to us like that?" "He's right, you know. Now come on, guys, we better get to work. We've got a long day ahead of us. You better go and fetch my coaches, little James." "You're lucky I respect the Express coaches, otherwise I wouldn't be fetching them for you." And James fumed away. Now you may be wondering, why exactly did James have to shunt the Express? Well, all of the other Knapford shunters were busy. Stanley had been asked to take a train of trucks up to the quarry. Philip had been asked to shunt up at Wellsworth. Rosie had been relocated to Vickerstown. And Charlie and Billy had both got into an accident with each other earlier on that day and had to be sent to the works. But let's get back to the story about James. He shunted the express coaches into the station and went off to find Percy's mail van and the milk. Once he had found them, he shunted them into the station so that Percy could pick them up later. Then he ran off to take a rest. Once he was out of the way, he backed down into platform 1, as he knew that Gordon would be leaving soon with the express. Oh, I do wish I could pull the express. Oh, just imagine it, flying down the line. Oh well, here comes Gordon now. James was right. Gordon was backing down into the station, but he was wheezing and spluttering. James was worried for him. He wasn't sure if he was okay or not. "Are you okay, Gordon?" James asked. He was very worried for him. I'm fine. I'm fine. Nothing to it." "You're not okay, Gordon," came a voice. It was Sir Topham Hatt. He drove up in his car next to the station. "I could hear you from miles away, Gordon. I don't think you should pull the express today, but that does leave me in a predicament. Henry's taken a goods train to the mainland, and Emily is busy with some passengers." "Who isn't busy today? Let's see. Edward's busy at Wellsworth. Most of the tank engines are busy. Who's left?" As Sir Topham Hatt was thinking about what he could do, Thomas rolled in. He'd heard everything. "Excuse me, sir, but James has been wanting to have another turn at the express. He hasn't had one in ages, and he really enjoys pulling it. Why don't you let him try?" "That's an excellent idea, Thomas. Quick, move Gordon out of the way. James, get coupled up now." James was thrilled. Both Thomas and James did as they were told. Thomas pulled Gordon away, and James rocketed to get ready. James came back a few minutes later. He was ready to pull the express. As he waited, he saw Thomas pushing Gordon back to the sheds. He gave a friendly peep. Gordon didn't reply. Just try to make up for lost time, James. No need to rush and break speed records. The guard's whistle blew, and James, slowly but surely, rolled out of the station with the express. Soon James was soaring down the line. Percy was chugging along slowly when James rocketed past him. He was going so fast that he couldn't believe it. Whoosh! He hissed. Meanwhile, at Wellsworth, Edward was waiting for Gordon to pass by. He hadn't been told of the change. He usually sat there, because he knew that Gordon and no other big engine would be able to climb the hill without him. Just then, Philip rolled up. "What are you doing, Edward?" he asked as he launched his truck. "Hello, Philip. I'm just waiting for the express to come." Whoosh!
"Oh, wow! Look how fast that engine is! But I bet you I'm faster, Edward! Look how fast I am!"
Edward was more concerned about the engine pulling the express than Philip's speed. "I hope they know what they're doing," he mumbled to himself. But Philip was trying to be fast, so he didn't notice. James didn't realise Gordon's hill was about to come up. He was having too much fun racing past engines and whooshing down the line. Gordon's hill grew closer and closer, but James didn't care. He didn't even notice. By the time James did realise that Gordon's hill was coming up, it was far too late. He tried it, but he couldn't make it up. He got his train halfway up, but then slid back down the hill. Maybe I should have stopped for a banker at Wellsworth. There's no way I'm going to make it up the hill now. Soon the news got passed down the line to Edward. "I knew he wouldn't make it up. I knew he wouldn't make it up," he said to himself, and he left to go rescue him. Soon Edward arrived at the back of the train and buffered up. "Peep, peep!" "I'm ready back here," called Edward. "So am I," replied James. The two engines worked hard. James slipped and Edward strained, but together they got James over the hill and the express went flying down it again. Edward went back to Wellsworth to do some shunting with Philip. James continued down the line, flying down it. He raced past Toby, and as he reached Vickerstown, he dropped the coaches and went back on his journey. As James returned home, he passed through Wellsworth. Edward decided to join him. "Hello there, James," he said. "Did I do bad today, Edward?" asked James. "Why would you ever think that?" asked Edward. "Well, I stopped on Gordon's Hill, and express engines don't do that." "Oh, James, Gordon used to do that all the time. There's no need to worry about it." "It doesn't feel right, though," said James. "You haven't done it in ages, James. You haven't pulled the express in years. That means you're not used to it quite yet." "I suppose so. Thank you, Edward. You've really made me think about it." "No problem. Now let's get back to the sheds." When everyone returned to the sheds, Gordon was the first to speak. "I heard that you did a good job pulling the express today, James. I'm sorry for teasing you. You aren't a little engine after all." James looked over to Edward and gave him a smile. Edward smiled back. James hoped that he could pull the express more often, but he knew that all the other work was important as well, from Edward.